Hi guys, my name is Jason and welcome back to my channel. So today I wanted to talk a little bit about my experience with being transgender, specifically a transgender guy. I do have a coming out video. I will link it down below. I haven't watched that video in a while, so I don't really remember specifically what I talked about. But if you want to watch that, feel free. So in this video, I specifically want to talk about what it's like being a feminine transgender man, because this is something that I kind of was still trying to figure out when I first filmed that video. And when I filmed that first video, I was still trying to conform. This is distracting, sorry. Conform to a heteronormative idea of being a man. I mean, I still would wear booty shorts and I would still talk pretty feminine, but I still had internalized toxic masculinity where it was you need to do XYZ to be a real man. And that's because I lived with someone for a year who was extremely transphobic and would literally try and get me to go on estrogen, which is the female hormone, and because she just kind of was you're too hairy, because she had this idea of your hair is making you think you're a man, so I would need to put you on estrogen. And I flew out of that house. I was like, I cannot stay here anymore. I mean, maybe one day I would do a story on that household and what happened there, but I'm really nervous to do that because I don't want to put myself in an unsafe situation. So I'm just going to kind of stop it there. But yeah, I had a lot of I don't know, just people kind of telling me oh, because you're on T, and so trans men are held to even higher standards of masculinity than cis men are. So James Charles, for example, when he came out and he became big, I was like, oh my god, I want to be like James Charles at the time. And I'm not a makeup guru or anything. I really like to play with fashion. I really like to wear clothes that make me feel good and make me look good in my body. And I love some of James Charles' outfits, and I love Ashley from Best Dressed. I love the outfits she wears and I want to wear them. But because I'm a trans man, I'm held to even higher standards of masculinity. And I also have this belief, because people have told me this, that I'm undesirable as a trans man already. So when you add the feminine part, I'm even more undesirable. And that's something that I've been trying to work on and really break free from. Yeah, so if you are a trans guy and you're watching this and you're feminine and you like to wear shirts like this and fucking booty shorts with your butt out, that's totally fine. If cis, I mean, it shouldn't even be this way, but there are cis men, right, who are wearing dresses and makeup and whatever, and the thing is, the way you dress doesn't dictate your gender. So even when I went on T, the first thing I said was I want to go on T so I can look like a boy in a dress and I can look like a boy in booty shorts, because for me, that's what I wanted. And there are some other more personal changes that have happened that I'm more than happy to go into a video about it. I'm gonna do a whole separate thing on that. But yeah, going on T is so, sorry, going on T was so life-saving for me, and literally I feel so liberated and so free, and I can function in my day, and I just look at myself and I feel at home, and I have it's a physical warm feeling that I feel in my body. So yeah, and I love when I look at myself and I see the hair on my legs and in these booty shorts, I'm like, damn, that's exactly how I want to look, and I'm really happy. So yeah, I think just it was really hard. Like, it was a really hard journey because I used to like stare at myself in the mirror and be like, Jason, you're not a real guy if you want to wear a dress, or like, you're not a real guy. But because the thing is, when I was young, like, I played with like American Girl dolls. I played with Barbies, Brat dolls. I had action figures, but I always saw myself as a boy. Like, when I went to American Girl doll, like the store that I talk about in my story time video, which I'll link below as well, I was like in heaven there, but I felt so awkward because I was like, I'm a boy, and like, and I remember saying to my mom before I officially came out as trans, like, I really wish American Girl doll created like American Boy dolls. And my stepdad at the time was like, that's never gonna happen because no boy is gonna play with dolls. But in my head, I was like, I'm a boy playing with these dolls, and I'm telling you. So, but I don't know, like, on one hand, I'm you know, like, and being trans isn't me hating my body or anything. It's literally just being like, I'm a boy and this is my body, and I'm really fine with that. You know, because like growing up as a trans guy and like being socialized as a woman, I mean, I still have like some weird things I'm like working on because of that, but I was like able to play with dolls, and I was able to kind of be like more softer, you know, and not have to like be a man when I was young. But when I did come out as a boy, it was a lot of pressure on me to be a man, and, you know, people nitpicking every little thing. Like, I talk with my hands because I'm Italian and I'm also Jewish, but it was always like, why do you talk with your hands? Why do you cross your legs? Like, stop. Like, that's not how a man acts. And all this shit. And then I was like looking at like James Charles and like Jeffree Star, and I have no idea what Jeffree Star's gender is. And I'm not saying that these people are like, you know, like the model of a feminine boy or whatever. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying, like, as a young kid trying to figure out my own gender and sexuality, I would look at like feminine gay men and be so jealous of them. I was like, oh my god, that's how I want to look. You know, I'd watch all the documentaries about trans guys and on YouTube, and I identified with them wanting tea and stuff, but I was like, okay, but I don't like want to lift weights every day, and I don't want to play in the mud, and I don't want to play shooting video games. Like, I just want to paint my nails and like and just be a boy. Like, I just want to do those activities, but like as a boy, and it's so freeing. Like, yeah, and I think like also like sometimes I feel really like scared, like even when I'm wearing like outfits like this or like putting on a dress, I'm like, oh my god, someone's gonna like invalidate my gender today, or like or even in like my own home, it's like very much like, you used to be a woman, so you can't act like that anymore, you can't dress like that. And I don't identify with the used to being a woman. I was always a boy. I just needed to go through the right puberty, and that's why I take tea, is so that I'm going through the right puberty. But I'm not acting like a woman, I'm acting the way I act, you know, and I'm just like allowing myself to be free, and that's really powerful and really cool. And yeah, and I don't know, like, you know, my heart goes out to you if you are someone, you know, if you were a gay cis boy, which means that you're not trans. Cis means same. So if you're a cis boy and you're really struggling with like, oh, I'm feminine and like I don't feel like a real man, like, you are, and you can be feminine, and it's a beautiful thing. And, you know, and if you're a trans guy and you're somewhat feminine and you're like, oh, should I identify as non-binary, which is what I was struggling with, like, you don't have to. Like, if you're a guy and you want to wear a dress, or you want to paint your nails, or you like to watch romance movies and you like to cry, like, you're still a guy. And yeah, and that's just like the great thing, is that like femininity doesn't equal a woman and masculinity doesn't equal a man. But there's also like just so much like pressure on people, and like also because femininity in our society is like, right, when God, like, cis men insult women, it's like, or each other, they're like, you're a fucking pussy. And it's like, vaginas are actually fucking strong. Like, they birth a whole baby. So like, maybe you should rethink that. but like it's always seen as like, oh, you're a sissy, like you're this, or like you're, like when boy, like sometimes when like children cry like little boys, it's like you're acting like a little girl, right? It's always a bad thing. You throw like a girl. Come on, we've all heard that. But the thing is, like, I'm not acting like a girl. I'm just acting how I act and like being myself, and it's a really beautiful thing. And yeah, so I just wanted to say that. I mean, my trans story isn't the mainstream narrative. I don't know, and I also don't think about my transness a lot. It's mostly when I'm like entering a bathroom, I like zip up a hoodie and I literally walk into the bathroom in a different way, because in different spaces I have to assimilate and kind of adjust how I am, and it's very exhausting to do that. And I think for myself at least, that's why I really value being around other like queer people or LGBTQ people who understand the fluidity and the expansiveness of being a queer person, because there are some cis gay men who are very much like, I don't know, just still like stuck in that like binary like sex equals gender way, and that's like not it. And yeah, like, yeah, and I don't know, I think it's just, I don't know, it's just like a really hard thing to deal with, I think, especially with like when you're in a very like heterosexual cisgender, like not trans household. And it's just a lot, because you have to assimilate to the ways in which they want you to behave, and it's kind of like a survival tactic. And it's like, throughout my whole life, I've never known myself outside of trauma. I've always been in a survival mode, and that's kind of like, I could make a whole video on anxiety and like my depression and all of that and how that factors in. But I just want to make this video because if it's going to help a young boy who's struggling with his femininity, or someone my own age, like, that's amazing and that's great. And I just want to use this platform to show you that there's different ways of existing. And because this is really therapeutic for me to like, because growing up I've always been told like, you talk too much, or like, shut up already, we don't want to hear this anymore. And just people telling me who I am, and like saying, like, I don't know, like even that person that I lived with my senior year telling me I should go on estrogen, and saying to me, like, I came to her crying, like, I'm a guy, but I'm feminine. And I would show her like pictures of guys that I just looked up to, like, who were feminine as well. And she was like, well, no gay cis man will ever want you, and no woman is ever gonna want you. So I have a lot of like weird feelings to work out about that. And it's so hard to like ignore that, when you're in it, like when you're in it every single day. So I want to end this video on a happy note. So I do want to say that I'm, a lot happier now that I'm on T, and that I'm able to buy the clothing that I want to and experiment with that. If anybody needs any help with just like in general, Trevor is a great resource. I honestly, to this day, use them. Like, I've been calling them almost every day this week, because I've been like, oh my God, I need somebody like who understands me and like who will listen. And if you don't have a therapist, because therapy is really expensive, which I totally understand, like I was having the same problem, reach out to Trevor. The trans health line, there's like a trans crisis line that's run by trans people. I think it really depends on your area, because sometimes I get someone who like doesn't really engage with me. She just like lets me talk. And then when I talk to this guy, I think it's because we're both trans men, like he engages more. But the Trevor chat, like they let you talk, and then like you unpack and kind of come up with solutions, which is really helpful. So yeah, I'm gonna link all of that information down below. And you all can reach out to me on my Instagram, which is at @JasonFeinberg_, and I will do my best to answer. I don't really get like a ton of messages, so I can totally answer and have a conversation. Yeah, and just know that like I love you, and I'm so proud of you, and like your queerness and your transness and your femininity if you're a boy, or masculinity if you're a girl, or both of them, is sacred and it's beautiful, and you're beautiful, and we're bad bitches who are gonna like do amazing things. So thanks so much for listening. Please subscribe, hit the bell so you know when I upload. I am trying to upload at least twice a week. So yeah, and thanks so much for being here. You are beautiful and I love you. Goodbye. Hello. So I'm really sorry about this lighting, but I just remembered a really cool thing. So I honestly like to explain my gender as a color. So I explain it to be lavender because for me, like, that represents, for me, being a soft feminine man. And I'll show you. I have a tattoo right here. It's also on my Instagram. There's some pictures. But it's lavender to remind, and I got it tattooed on me as soon as I turned 18 to remind myself that, like, being a soft feminine man is who I am. And that's okay. So that's on that. Yeah. And this is what it looks like again. Yeah, that's all.